So is it possible to get really high quality cinematic footage using your phone? So this could be an iPhone, it could be an Android. I have a few here, and pretty much with any smartphone in the last few years, the video quality is really comparable with high-end video cameras. In fact, some of the high-end cameras that I use for my cinematography work and for my video production work outside of YouTube did not have some of the features the phone had. The phone, like the iPhone for example, had 4K at 120 frames first before I upgraded my cameras to have the same option. So the short answer is yes, obviously you could get very high quality 4K resolution footage on your phone, but there are some fundamental rules that you have to follow to get really professional results. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 different tips that you should follow if you're using your phone to record videos for YouTube or really any type of video. And I'm sharing this experience as a professional cinematographer. I've been doing this for a living for 15 years, but they all relate to pretty much anybody trying to get good quality video using their phone. Now, the fundamental rule of shooting anything, this is photography related and video related, is composition, okay? And with composition, all that means is where are the things when you kind of frame up your video shot here, where do things land in your video? And it doesn't matter if you're shooting this way for YouTube Shorts or for TikTok, or if you're shooting this way for regular YouTube videos, right? Films are shot kind of this way. This is the 16:9 format that you're used to looking at things on TV. So when you shoot a video this way with really any phone, you have to decide where are things going to land on your frame. For YouTube, it's pretty straightforward. Just follow these fundamental rules of cinematography. Frame up your shot in a way where the person is right center frame looking at camera. So if you're talking to camera, you want to be in the middle of the frame. There's something called rule of third. This divider, this imaginary line that divides your frame into 9 different sections. You want to be right in the center of that, okay? So that's where you land on the frame. The next thing you should focus on is called headroom. And by headroom, I mean how much space is on top of your head. You don't want a lot of space on top of your head. So with the rule of third, you basically want to end up in the top square in the center when you're talking to camera. So when I'm talking to my camera, if I lay out the imaginary rule of third, my eye basically should land on this line, and then there shouldn't be much room on top of my head. Okay, so that's your headroom. You should pay attention to it after you decide where you land on the frame. In this case, center frame makes perfect sense. And lastly, it's your shot size. And by shot size, I mean how big do I look in the shot? This is called a medium shot, where it's kind of like chest high. It's called a medium shot, or waist high is also called a medium shot. Typically on YouTube, you want somewhere in the range of a medium shot. If for some reason it makes sense for your video, you could also do close-up. Close-up is basically just your head or your face. Neck up is a close-up. And there are other type of shots like wide shots and extreme close-ups, but if you're talking and making videos where you're talking to the camera, these type of shots where they're medium sized like you see here makes the most sense. Your second decision when making videos with your phone is lens selection. And let me show you. I don't mean which lens you actually buy and put on your camera, because these cameras don't take that kind of lens. But most of your cameras, most of your phones here have different cameras, right? They have a front facing, like this Android has a front facing camera here. You have this iPhone, it has a front facing camera and it has 3 different cameras in the back, right? So this old iPhone just has one in the back and one in the front. But the thing with these lenses is you still got to decide which one is capturing your video. In this case, I have 4 different choices. So if I was picking a lens to put on my camera that I'm filming with now, I would decide, is this the right lens? Or do I need something wider, something tighter? Because I'll show you, for example, here, I could zoom in and I could have a different shot size, or I could zoom all the way out, right? So I have some selections here when it comes to my zoom here, and I have a remote just for this camera, but for these, you basically choose. So let me show you what I mean. So here with the iPhone, for example, and this is the same with Android too. Typically, if you have multiple lenses on this side, you could change it. So you could go to a wide shot, for example, right? Or you could go to just a regular lens that you have. And then you could go to your telephoto lens if you want to get more close-up shots. So when filming yourself, you got to just choose which one you're using. And I always recommend to people not to use their front-facing camera when they're recording themselves, because this is the lowest quality camera of all of them. So you have 3 cameras here, and these are much better quality than the one that's over here. And I know it's a little bit inconvenient because it's a lot easier to use this one to record yourself, but these just give you better quality. So I always tell people to use the cameras that are on the outside, not the front-facing camera, because these are always on every phone for the last decade have been a better quality than the one that is on the inside. So if you set up your phone this way to record yourself, you're just gonna get better results, and you're gonna have more lens selections for changing up the shot size. And that brings us to tripod choices, because what I just described to you, where you hold up a phone, right? If you hold up your phone this way, you don't want to hold it because it shakes, right? In some cases that may make sense if you're making a vlog video, for example, but in a lot of cases that doesn't make sense. You want a stabilized shot. So how do you do that? Well, there are a couple options. You could use a tripod like I'm using here. I'll put a very inexpensive one in the description below that you could pick up. That's perfect for phones, and it has a little phone holder, so your phone just snaps onto it. What I use all the time is this option also. This is also less than 20 bucks. And it basically takes your phone, it also rotates. So if you're shooting vertical or horizontal videos, it doesn't matter. But all it does is it takes your phone, and you want to be facing it this way, right? So you set it up like this, and then you place it and you film, and you look right at the lens when you're talking. And then it hooks to any desk or really any object right here. It just hooks, and then you just time it. This is super useful. One of my favorite things I ever bought. So it just lets you rotate it, but it's very solid. So when you actually hook it onto a desk or really table or anything that you have laying around, you could get really good shots anywhere you are. So I recommend this, and I recommend a tripod if you're doing things like I'm doing here. So I use a combination of the two to get really stabilized shots with my phone. Now, without good lighting, it doesn't matter what phone you're using. In fact, it doesn't even matter what kind of camera you're using. So this is actually what this room looks like before I light it. So as you could tell, lighting does make a huge difference in the quality of your video. And you don't have to use color lights, like I just changed that to just a regular white light in the back. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you just basically want to fill in your face. And I use 2 different lights from 2 different directions to do that. And I have a complete video on how I light this exactly this way, so you can watch that if you want to know. But you could use very inexpensive lights, LED lights that don't take that much power, and set them up and light yourself with 1 or 2 lights. I usually recommend 2, so it fills in more evenly than just coming from one direction. And I also want to share with you at the end the camera that I use to kind of get this level of quality. So this is definitely better than a smartphone, but it is a much bigger investment. And I don't think I ever used cameras like this till I was about 500 videos in. And I still have more high-end cameras than this that I've never used on my YouTube channels. And I use those for professional cinematography work. So I really just kind of have this set up for my YouTube channel. And then the more high-end cameras that are more than $10,000 are dedicated to just work for clients. Now, I saved sound for last because it's the most essential, and it's the one that people always neglect. Your phone actually has really good cameras built in, but it's really bad for capturing sound. If you're really close to the phone, it does a good job, maybe a couple of feet, but anything further, if your phone's on a tripod or one of those stands I showed you, and if it's further away from you than a couple of feet, you're gonna get bad quality sound. I actually soundproofed this room to some extent, but it's still not good enough with the type of microphone that I'm using. But with the phone, this is what I actually recommend. This is called a lavalier mic. Now, I have a $600 lavalier mic, and this was just like $20, but this is designed for a phone. Let me show you how this works, and I'll put a link in the description to this as well. But this one is designed for the iPhone, and you could get one with a USB-C for Android phones or whatever kind of connection you have with your phone. But all this one is it just connects to your phone here, right? And then this is the microphone. You wear this, okay? This kind of hooks to you. It has a little clip right here that comes with it, and it kind of hooks to your shirt. So you would basically put it like this, and then the mic would sit here. And I usually recommend people hide the wire because I think it just looks messy kind of having a microphone. But for YouTube, it doesn't matter all that much because people know you're wearing a microphone, especially for good quality sound. And then you just go to the camera app of the phone and choose your lens and press record. You don't have to set up anything. And then this is how the mic, how the sound gets picked up. Super, super useful, these lavalier mics. And the ones that are designed for the phone are actually not that bad. They're not great. A good quality lavalier mic is $400 or $500, the ones that I use to kind of set up with my equipment. But for recording on your phone, that should really excel the quality and really make you stand apart. People hate bad sound. This is true with film, this is true with YouTube. They may forgive just about everything else as far as video quality, lighting, but they won't forgive bad sound. And finally, just to compare the investment that it takes to record videos like this compared to what's on your phone, this is a camera, it's the one I had overhead that I was showing you some of the phone shots, and it's the similar one that I'm using over here. But basically this camera, this part is $3,500 and this lens is about $1,000. The lens I'm using there is about $2,000, right? So when you think of it, this is a $5,000 investment to get this level of video quality. And I don't think most people need that till they get to over 100,000 subscribers or make over 500 videos and really get a feel of how they communicate to camera, because that's far more important than the video quality. So I always recommend people don't invest in this kind of gear and start with their phone, and then they have cheaper version. In fact, Sony, the company that makes this camera, has another version called A6500, A6600, A7 III. This is a A7 S3. Yeah, this is the A7S III that I have. But those cameras could be as little as $1,000 relative to $3,500, and you could buy a cheaper lens. You could buy a lens for $300-400 instead of $1,000 or $2,000 lens. But I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what it takes to get this level and where the background really falls off soft like that, you see out of focus. But you could do that with software too. Like Instagram's camera app lets you blur the background. Sometimes some iPhones have a way to kind of bokeh or blur the background. So if you want that kind of look, you could get it with software too nowadays on the phone. So that's the 5 tips I wanted to cover in this video for getting quality cinematic footage right on your phone. Again, make sure you watch my other videos on how to light a YouTube set, how to get good quality sound. I talk about other microphone options that you have. And I also show you exactly how to get 100 and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I'll link all those videos in the description below. And I'm also finishing up my full course, 100 videos walking you step by step on how to monetize, how to get 100,000 subscribers, and how to use YouTube for your business or turn it into a business. So make sure you sign up for that if you want to learn more about that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.